One of the biggest questions that gets asked when people talk about MFL is how much does it cost to play? And I'm running a bit of an experiment this season where I'm trying to play for free. Now, you're not going to be able to do exactly what I've done for a reason I'll get onto in a minute, but I think there's an interesting discussion in here about what is it that you're looking to get out of MFL. And I think it maybe talks to a wider conversation going on in the community at the moment around the strength in leagues and people maybe buying teams that are too good for lower divisions. Slightly different video style today. I've kind of got the screen straight up here instead of editing it together afterwards, so it might be a little bit more rambly, but I don't have the time to edit it. I'm actually going on my stag do this weekend, so I'm trying to get a video out for you. These are my three clubs. So Inter Miami is the first club that I bought. They're in Iron. Carmarthen Crew is the second club, and they're in Ice. And it's this club, Christoph's Heroes, that I want to talk about. I actually opened the pack for this club back in the first video I did on MFL and named it, and that's just my logo in there because I haven't come up with a logo yet. And this is the club that I'm essentially running for free. Now, I won this club on the When Dirk live stream. So if you're into MFL and you've not heard of the When Dirk podcast, it's a really good podcast. It's run by Jimbo and Calvinator or Calva, and every pack drop, they run a massive stream where in that stream there's a quiz and the winner of that quiz gets a prize. And the most recent one that was done at the beginning of season 5, the prize was a club and I won the quiz. And whilst if you want to replicate what I'm doing, you're going to need to win the quiz, well, I'm not going to give you my tips on how I won it, so you're just going to have to try and beat me next time. And so that's the step that maybe you can't replicate, but even if you've just bought a club yourself, maybe you did it through the Dapper Disney dollars, or maybe you bought one of those joint starter packs at the beginning of the season where you got a starter pack and a club pack, so you've only spent maybe 40 to 50 pounds or dollars on your club, but now you've got to fill it with players. And there's a few ways you can go about this. I get that people want to compete and try and get promoted, and so they will look for loans that are going to allow them to compete of players that have got enough quality to get them promoted out of Spark, for example. But there is another option. I think people had a really tough time in the loan market this season. I think people want more and more percentage as the seasons go on. I think that will equal out eventually. One thing I would say is don't go and get the first contracts you see because they're usually quite expensive. Try and wait for a little later in the window because as much as you need the players in your club, the person who wants to loan out their players kind of wants them loaned out as well. So it becomes a bit more of an equal kind of negotiating field. Now, this is my squad. It's not very good. As you can see, it's all commons. There's not even a limited in here. But as you can also see over here, apart from these two down the bottom, which I kind of just threw in at the last moment, every player is loaned from another agent. But this is the most important column right here. All of these players are in on 0% rev share. Now, they all have games that I need to play them for, otherwise there is a percentage, which is why my rev share here says 95.5. But as you can see, my base percentage is 0. All of these will actually auto-accept 0% contracts. So I kept scouting the market in like the 3 or 4 days before the season started for who's put a player up for an auto-accept 0% contract, because my feeling was if I sent an offer and they came and looked at my club and were like, oh, it's not very good or there's not enough players, I wasn't actually going to be able to fill my club up with players because people would just reject me in favor of maybe someone with a better team that's maybe going to get more MFL. So I kind of had to look for the auto accept, and this is the team I got. Now, it's actually better than I thought, especially these two up here, Gmur and Fernandez. Like 54 rated, even Alvarez there at 53 rated. Like, that's really pretty decent, like kind of a mid-table Spark team if you wanted to go there. But I had to be really careful putting this team together, and this is why. Despite having 0% rev share, there are obviously a lot of caveats to that. People only give players away for 0% rev share because they want them to play and progress and they want to get that training in. So there are a lot of matches that I need to play these players for. And so my task this season is going to be to manage the games played for each of these players, essentially so that I try and not give any MFL away at the end of the year. And then you may be asking, well, what's the plan long-term with this club? Well, I'd like to buy 2 common packs at the end of this season and then put them into the club at the beginning of next season. And that's the beginning of the squad for the next season. And do that until I've got a full squad of my own players that are completely freely earned. And before I show you how I got on, I'm going to show you the projections of the league. So I'm in an 11-team league, and this is everyone. You might notice Evo FC here is Nepenthes. And so I've got essentially 3 really good teams that I think will get promoted, or at least will battle for promotion. Then there's kind of like a middle pack, and then there is essentially me and the worst team. As you can see by the plus 12, which is the difference between when these ratings were first made and this projection when the market closed, I was actually the worst team in the league to begin with, but it honestly didn't matter that much to me. I was kind of expecting it, and competing isn't necessarily what this team is built for. However, we are 6 games into the season, so, you know, over a quarter of the way through the games that are going to be played, I am currently sat 5th. Now, there is quite a hefty asterisk over where I'm sat in the table, and that is that I've played Cheese Grater, McTom, Sarang, and Rastavi. So I've played the bottom 4 teams in the league. I'm still yet to play Evo FC, NEP, and Focia Citizens. I've played Hong Kong Kings. I got absolutely battered by Hey Eagle FC. And I've still got to play Palmer and Santa Cruz. In fact, they're my next 2 games in the league. So maybe a slightly false position in terms of 5th, but the fact I've won 3 games is pretty awesome. And if you look against McTom and Rastavi Sealers, it was not close. I absolutely battered them 5-1 and 6-1. Against Cheese Grater, who are only just slightly better than me, I also got battered. That was a weird game. And then I've beaten Sarang Tigers, and as you can see, the kind of last 2 league games were pretty hefty losses. But when we look at how much MFL I can earn from this Spark League, I kind of want to be in that 9th, 8th, 7th, if I could possibly push up there. That's kind of in my brain that where I think I can finish. And so this is like the area of the league I'm looking at. And if you look at the amount of MFL that I can earn like 1,050 if I come 9th. To be honest, with 9 points already, if I can get another 3 wins in the second half of the season and finish on 18 points, I honestly think 9th or 8th is where I will finish. And if I can get that 1,050 or 1,100, I'm already going to be guaranteed to be able to open 2 common player packs for the 600 MFL each. And the reason I'm already going to be guaranteed to be able to do that is that, as you can see here in the cup competition where you're ranked more on your rating rather than just being put in a league, I've actually won my first 2 games. I beat another of Net's teams in his golden oldies. That was a pretty comprehensive victory. And then I'm going to say it, I scabbed a win against Embervale. It was like quite a tight game where my goalkeeper pulled out some absolute heroics. I will say, if Alvarez was on form, this might have been a little bit more comfortable, but definitely like a really good result to get that win. And the reason they're important is that in the cup, every single group stage win is 50 MFL. So I've already guaranteed this team 100 MFL. As I was saying, if I can finish in that 9th spot and get 1,100 MFL from the league, that's now 1,200 guaranteed. But I've still got 4 games to play. And so really, I'm kind of prioritizing the cup competition. I know Nep's talking about making a video on this, and I might make one as well and try and not tread on toes. But you can see the amount of MFL that's available in a cup competition where you are ranked based on your like quality of squad. It's really quite high. If you think about, I'm looking for 1,000 to 1,100 MFL from the league. Well, 50 per group stage win is pretty massive. Let's say I can win 4 of the games. Now, I've won the first 2. Let's say I can win 4. That's another 200 MFL from the cup. That should then qualify me for the round of 16. That's now 1,800, so I'd be at 380. If I can win my round of 16 game and get to the quarterfinals, I'm now getting 620 MFL altogether, like more than half of what I'd be getting from the league. And if you consider the fact that in the league, every position from that kind of 11th up to kind of 6th or 7th is only 50 or 100 MFL more, why would I not prioritize the cup? Because if I try and prioritize the league, I might get 50 or 100 MFL total. If I prioritize the cup, there's every chance I could get to the quarterfinals, get that 620 MFL, which would be the equivalent of finishing like 4th or 5th in Spark. And then who knows, if you can like get to the semi-finals, maybe even scab your way to the finals, that is like more MFL than you would earn from your league. So I really think people overlook the cup competitions. And I watched Nep's video yesterday. He did a kind of like hour and 5-minute kind of review of all of his teams and also how he's feeling about the game at the moment. And one of his frustrations, which I see echoed across a lot of people in the community, is the fact that the leagues kind of aren't fair, is what I think it comes down to. The fact that in some leagues you get people who will pay like way over the odds to get their teams promoted, and it kind of feels like there's no chance at progression for your team. Now, firstly, I think that's maybe a little bit too zoomed in on this season, or maybe a bit too zoomed in on kind of 2 or 3 seasons. Like, I think we have to start seeing this as a longer project in terms of like wanting to get your club promoted without putting lots of money into it. It's going to be something you have to build over time with good management, with cleverly moving players on when you don't think they've got much progression, buying good new players, maybe opening some packs or selling your packs that you get with your MFL to then go and buy an improvement to your squad. It's going to be a slower process. Only 1.75 teams in each league will get promoted each year. And so of the 12 teams that are in your league, like 10 of them are going to be disappointed, like easily. So it's not going to be a situation where you can get promoted every year. And I don't think it should be. And if that is one of your frustrations, whilst I totally understand it, I actually think the Cups is where you should be focusing way more of your attention, especially down in Spark and in Ice, because you're automatically put with people who are on a similar level to you in terms of their team rating. Well, there's every chance that you can go far in these competitions if you start prioritizing them. And if that comes at the sacrifice of maybe losing 4, 6, 8 points in the league, I honestly think that MFL payoff is worth it. Now, when it becomes not worth it is when you are challenging for promotion, when there is a chance that you could go up to that next league, because the MFL is so much higher than next season in the next league up, it's probably better to then focus on the league. But especially if you're in Spark and you're kind of feeling like you're most likely going to be mid-table this season because there's 2 or 3 massive teams in your league, focus on the Cups. Like, really give them some attention, because you're going to get more returns from that. That'll give you more cash going into next season to improve your squad. Maybe you can get a good player from the packs that you get, or maybe you can sell those packs and just kind of get that striker you've been looking at, get that defender you've been looking at, buy a better goalkeeper. Now, I'm a massive Excel nerd. I love a good spreadsheet. It's actually where the Excels at my name comes from. And this is kind of what I've had to set up for this team. And this is essentially like all of the players, the number of contracted games they've got to play and how many games they've played so far, so that I can then start like projecting what games am I going to play them in, those players with 20 contracts, where are they going to get their rest throughout the season, and like start prioritizing a little bit. So like, as you can see, this is the game I played yesterday, or these are the 2 games I played yesterday. This is the game I've got tonight against Santa Cruz. Now, I'll be honest, I'm rotating pretty heavily. I'm not going to beat Santa Cruz, even if I put my best team out and they perform really well. There's like a 12 rating gap on every single player between us. So actually trying to battle for a win here doesn't make any sense. I'm going to put my worst players in here that require those games to be played so they can go in this game. Same with Parma. Parma are the highest rated team in the league, so these are going to be my worst players. I'm just getting rid of those contracted games that I need to. However, the Cup game, that's my best 11. Again, the same with this Cup game afterwards, and the same with these 2 here as well. And then maybe for Nep as well, because I don't want to take a battering. Now, I know not everyone's going to want to plan out who's playing what games in all of their contracts. I completely get that. You can run down your fitness if you want. But one of the things that's super helpful is that you can set your tactic and set your lineup for games well in advance. So you can see here, the game today, I already have my team set up in here in a completely different formation, because that's just the best one that fit all of these players. And then for the game after in the Cup, I then have probably my best team in the formation I like to play with them. You can see there's a few players in here that have got low fitness, but they're getting rested tonight, so they'll come into this game fresh. And then the game after is against the best team in the league. So as you can see, I really don't care about this result. I've got players out of position. This is just to get some contracts run down so that I've got the games played on them. And then again in the Cup, I'll go back to the team that beat Nep 4-0 in the first match. So hopefully it can beat him again in the second match. So this is a really good way of being able to kind of set your teams in advance if you're going on holiday, if you're going away for a weekend, if you don't think you're going to be able to manage your teams, or even when you've got a double game day, as you can see on May the 8th. I've got a game here at 3:36 and then a game at 7:45. That's when we've got Cup and League games on the same day. If you know you're not going to be able to change your team in between time, this is a really good way of like setting your lineup for both games. You have to kind of guess what the fitness situation is going to be so that you can rotate the players you think are going to need to be rotated. But this is definitely a feature I think is underutilized. This is quite in-depth, and you can do this much easier if you just don't care about fitness. I would still like some element of rotation so my team's in a pretty good spot fitness-wise, and especially so that I can target those Cup competitions so I can bring my best team in, hopefully with some good fitness, and try and get as much MFL from that as possible. But I genuinely think I am going to be able to do that, and I don't think I'll be giving any MFL away from this team at the end of the season. And it's pretty fun. I didn't think I would be able to do this as easily as I did do it. And like, just to show you that anybody can do this, this is the current market right now for auto-accepted 0% rev share players in Spark. And you can see there's loads. Now, there's lots of goalkeepers. I think there's maybe too many goalkeepers in the game right now for the number of teams. And so a lot of them have been put up for loan. But you can see there's lots of people in different positions here. Now, when I was searching, I didn't always go for the highest rated. I might look at like, okay, what's the highest defensive stat that I can pick up? Now, usually that means they won't be a defender. Like this cam here, he's got 46 defending, which is the most you could get. He's only a 45 rated player. He's also got 60 pace and 51 passing. He looks really, really good. And when you look at my squad, you start seeing actually where I might have tried to target some of the best players in certain positions. So obviously, I'm someone who likes a bit of pace in their team. So I've got quite a few really fast players, especially for this low down, like Ada from midfield with 88 pace. You notice it in game. He's able to just run past other people's midfielders because they've got nothing like that pace. Same with Taniguchi or Rocker. But conversely, say Thompson here in midfield, he's got 69 defending on a 48 rated player. And it actually means that he's a 52 rated central defensive midfielder. So I can move him about. I mean, even look what he is at centre back, which is a completely unknown position for him. So I think he gets minus 20 in every stat. Because he still has 49 defending at that point, he's a 42 rated centre-back. So, hey, if I need an auxiliary player there, I can play him completely out of position and he'll still be okay. And I genuinely think down at this level, those kind of high individual stats really do bear out when you're playing. My striker, Fernandez, here has 67 passing. Like, 56 shooting is good. And actually, if you look at the roundedness of the stats, 63 pace, 67 passing, 56 shooting, and 61 physical. That's a really good striker. Now, the dribbling leaves something to be desired, but you're going to have to give something up at this level. And he performs really well in game. Same with like Amori. His passing's really, really high for a central defensive midfielder. In fact, he performs well in central midfield. So there are ways that you can construct these free teams that gives you a bit of a tactical advantage on the pitch if you can start making the most of it. As I say, I went for pace, so quite a lot of my tactics are based around being direct, about trying to kind of get in behind or use the passing of my attacking players to try and play that killer pass. And it's working out okay. Now, I'm probably going to be here in maybe 4 league games time halfway through the season, and I'm going to be a few places lower. I'm expecting that. I'm actually throwing games because I am expecting that. But that's fine. As long as I can finish not at the bottom. Even if I did finish at the bottom, I'm going to be profiting MFL from this club at the end of the year. Now, as I said, I got this for free, and who knows even if they will put a club up as the top prize again. But if you have bought a club and you don't have a big budget, but you'd still like to play and you still want to fill it with players to feel like you've got a chance or want to learn the ropes, it really is quite a low-risk strategy because you'll always be able to sell your club. You don't have to worry about whether these players are going to get progression. You don't really need to worry about that at all. You're just using other people's players to get the MFL, and then you can use that MFL either to start bringing money back in. Common packs on Floaty at the moment, it's selling for like $3.80. So if you can get 2 of them in a season, that's $7.60 in a year. Like, that's not to be sniffed at. You're getting like 10% of the base cost of your team back, give or take. And if you do buy your club with a starter pack, or if you use a referral link, so you get that free player when you buy your club, then you'll have already taken some of the cost off your club anyway, and you can start gaining some money just from that club to then buy your own players. $2 players weren't very common right at the beginning of Season 5 when we had rollover, but by the end of the transfer window, they were really, really common. So if you wanted your own players, you could maybe get enough in your Dapper wallet to buy 4 players for your squad the next season. And so within 4 seasons, you would have pretty much your own team at that point. And all it takes is one good cup run, and actually you can start making a lot more. You could double what you make in a season if you can get to the final. So I'm going to keep you updated with this team and how it gets on. It's kind of beyond my wildest expectations. We've scored 15 goals in 6 games, and then even in the cup, getting those 2 wins has been amazing. And at the end of the season, we'll see how much MFL it made, whether I was able to get through all of the contracts that I've given out. And then next season, we can see how I can put the team together. Can I get some better free contracts, guaranteeing people games, in a team that I can then prove I can manage to get wins and not just be the worst team in the league. And who knows, maybe eventually this team can get promoted out of Spark, but even if it stays here, I'm quite happy. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the kind of like experiment I'm doing with it. Maybe you can do the same thing next year. Let me know if you think there's a way I can optimize this strategy. If you do want to sign up to Sorare and you haven't yet, my link's in the description. But for now, guys, I've been JoshXLS. I'll catch you in the next one.